Alright everyone, this is going to be kind of just a rant and a talk and a discussion. So let's have a talk here in this video. I know that this isn't the typical kind of content that I produce, but I'm going out on a limb here and producing something that's easier for me. It's more fluid. I like to do it, and I just want to see how the community reacts to it. Now, it will be covering Tom Clancy's The Division. For anyone that's recently been coming through for Kingdom Come Deliverance, I'm by no means stopping the coverage of that game, but I will be expanding the coverage to more games, so there's going to be a lot coming up and popping up on this channel in the near future. But today is about Tom Clancy's The Division, specifically discussing the increase to classified drop rates that they recently announced on State of the Game. So essentially what happened, and what has been happening in the game for a very long period of time, is that they have been getting more generous with gear. They've been putting in additional classified gear sets. They've been putting in, more exotics over time, and they've also been upping the amount of gear that you get. If we take a look back historically at the game, you'll see that sometimes people were struggling simply to get high ends. Then they were very much struggling to get the original gear sets. It was very hard to obtain those. If not for some game-breaking glitches, people would have taken weeks or months to even get Striker or Sentry basic 4-pieces. Back in the day, it was much harder, but over time, we've had this kind of generosity creep, if you want to call it that, where we've been getting more and more and more gear. You can kind of let a wet fart go and collect 10 pieces of gear in the current atmosphere of The Division. But I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. It's a looter shooter after all. You are intaking a large amount of gear. Most of it is bad. You're going to get rid of the stuff that's bad, deconstruct it, get materials, craft some new stuff, and then the 1 or 2 pieces that you get per day that you actually like, you'll stick them in a loadout, throw them in your stash for later. So as the game gets more generous, we hit the latest, iteration of that, the latest time that we can see that being put into effect, and that is the upping of classified drop rates. Now in the game, you have various types of people, right? You have the people that are way too positive, and if you ever say anything about the game's balance or negative towards the game, they'll freak out, and they'll send you hate mail, and they'll lose their shit, and they'll basically just be totally dysfunctional, because you should never say anything bad about the game, and all that trash. And then you have the people that are way too negative, and they'll go to the live stream of the Division game, and talk about how the game is dead and no one should play it, and that's completely idiotic, because why are you watching a live stream of a game that is very much not dead, in fact has a larger community right now than it's had in the recent past for a very long time actually. It's on the uptick, if anything, and they're in there telling you that the game's dead and that you shouldn't play it. They're on the opposite end of the spectrum, and they are just as absurd. Both of those groups, both of those extremes are absurd, and they both need to just calm down. And then you have all the people in the middle, right? The average players. You have the people that play 2 hours a week, and you have the people that play 20 hours or more per week. And myself, as a previous hardcore player turned, I guess, casual player, I just really don't play as much anymore, though I could. I'm a full-time content creator, so if I wanted to play all the time, I could. I'm kind of in the middle, I have a foot in both camps. So now they're upping the drop rate. On State of the Game, most recently, they talked about this. They're upping the drop rate of classified gear from 5% in the Dark Zone to 6%. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I know someone will. And in the Light Zone, or the non-Dark Zone, farming open world bosses, they're upping it from 3% to 6%. And you have people on both sides of the fence here who are either for or against this to an extremely passionate degree. And I think that both of them are equally absurd. But let's talk about why that is. So for some people, the less hardcore, the people with less time, this is a great change, and they really want to see it implemented because it's going to cut down on the amount of time that they have to farm. Maybe they just picked up the game and they haven't played since the holidays, right? It hasn't even been a couple of months since then. They got it as a gift or something like that, and now they're finally starting to play it. Or maybe they picked it up again and re-downloaded since, right after launch day when they quit because the game was a hot mess back then. And now they're finally coming back because they heard some positive press. Or you have the people that have never even heard of the game and are buying it themselves right now because it's on sale and because a content creator did a good review of it and said, wow, this game has really changed for the better. It's come a long way. Try it out. So you have all the people that maybe don't have all the gear that they want. They don't have everything that they need in order to enjoy the game to maximum potential, and they love this change. And I can totally understand why. They're going to get more gear, they're going to complete more builds faster, they're going to have more fun as a direct result of that, and that is great because they paid money for this game and they deserve to have that experience. Then on the other side of the fence, you have the people that are super hardcore. They've had the game since day one. They've put 1, 2, 3,000 hours into it. They've struggled with the best of them. They went through the shotgun meta. They went through the Alpha Bridge meta. They went through the Tanktician meta. They were glitching Falcon Lost when it first came out. Like, they've been through everything. I'm talking everything. And they, some of them, I'm not presuming to speak for all of them, but I have seen some very vocal people talking about this. And a lot of people have actually been hitting me up and telling me more about this kind of thing that's going on, because I don't really even follow this type of social circle anymore to know about the majority of it. But anyways, some of them are extremely against this change. They're against the upping of the drop rates, and they don't want to see people getting more gear. Now, I can't really presume to know exactly why that is, but what they've articulated, some of them, is that they don't want to see players, you know, bypassing the grind, right? You know, they had to grind hundreds of hours or thousands of hours, and they don't want to see players bypassing that and getting everything in 1 day or 2 days or whatever, and having everything too quickly. They kind of feel this sense of entitlement to the fact that they have all of the gear that they want, they have all the setups that they want, and they're able to compete at a high degree of efficiency because they have all of that loot. And they don't really want to see that group of players that have all of that loot expand too quickly. They like the fact that they're stronger. They want to remain stronger for at least some small period of time. And they feel that this drop rate increase is going to somehow make it so that more players are on their level. That's really all that it is. Because if they, you know, if they're opposed to the drop rate, I mean, that means to me that they're suggesting that they can't benefit from this drop rate, right? If you don't want to have more loot or to increase the amount of gear that you're getting, then that kind of waves the flag that you have everything that you want, and now you don't want other people to have everything that they want, because then you can be stronger and beat them, right? That's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the extrapolation that I get from that argument. So you have a small group of player, and this is undeniable, right? There's various studies and metrics that you can look at for this, and diagnostics, but there's a small group of players which are super hardcore, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 hours of gameplay, and that's a very tiny minority. Let's not fool each other here. I know somebody in the comments is gonna start speaking up about how, no, the hardcore players have kept the division alive and massive owes them a debt of gratitude. I mean, I agree, okay? They absolutely have stuck through the game since the very beginning, through thick and thin, but they're a tiny, tiny fraction of the player base compared to the people that are more casual, that have less time, and are maybe just picking the game up or just coming back, and don't play 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 hours a week. Then you have this huge, whopping, behemoth-sized group of players that don't have even a fraction of the gear that they want and need to have more fun, who are now playing and want it, and will directly benefit from this change by a huge amount. So you have a tiny group of players that doesn't want a huge group of players to benefit, and the tiny group of players doesn't suffer because of the change being implemented. So let's be very frank here. The tiny group of hardcore players that doesn't want the increased drop rate are not going to suffer at all, because they have everything that they want. They're already arguably at peak amount of fun that you can get, because they can do everything that they want to do and construct everything that they want to construct. But they don't want the vast majority to have a better experience, because that's not fair. Like, it kind of blows my mind, and it just underlines the fact that I've really felt like the Divisions community for a very long time. Oh man, somebody's gonna let me have it in the comments for this one. I've really felt like it's just a dysfunctional community, man. It is. It's just completely dysfunctional, and I am just as dysfunctional. I am by no means trying to paint myself on this high horse as some kind of superior being. Like, I've gone through all sorts of back and forth and hypocrisy and flippy floppy politician-like state, like all that crap. I am just as guilty as the next one of this. But it really seems like it's kind of boiling over. It's hitting critical mass right now of just dysfunction. And watching this unfold and having people talk to me about this, like, oh, some people are like, better not up the drop rates. And then other people are super happy about it, and they're going to have a better time. They're going to get better bang for their dollar because they purchased the game at a discount, and now they can get so much content for such a cheap price. They're going to benefit from it, and they like it. And the community is at odds yet again over this topic. And as someone that previously was a super hardcore player, I mean, I went to the Elite Task Force, part of ETF Alpha. I flew out there. I've met some of the developers. I've met other content creators for the game. I've put in thousands of hours into the game. I've made hundreds of videos on the game. I've gotten millions of channel views for the Division specifically, and I'm not trying to brag here, I'm just saying this, I hope that proves that I have my foot squarely in the hardcore player camp. I also took many months off and away from the game, came back, and then kind of played a few hours a week for about a couple of months. So I also have a foot squarely, and this was after the release of classified gear. So I also have a foot squarely in the casual camp, right? So I'm kind of straddling that fence. I can see into both camps, and my opinion is that, like, this does not matter, guys. 1%, going from 5% to 6% in the dark zone, it doesn't matter. Like, here, let me get the mic here and just rip. It doesn't matter at all. Like, it's not going to have that much of an impact. It really isn't. And then going from 3% to 6% in the open world, and then adding all of the exotics to that drop pool, that's a good thing. Is that not a good thing? I mean, aren't we always talking about rewarding activities and being able to get things from different things, and, you know, not forcing people to play with a group if they don't want to, and always trying to prioritize all the tiny different groups of players? You want the solos to have fun, you want the groups to have fun, you want the duos to have fun, you want this activity to give this reward. And I mean, let's get some love for survival, am I right? Because that's kind of been ignored, so let's maybe spruce that up. But we want all the different activities to have all this stuff, so upping the drop rates, bringing in, you know, good exotics to different loot pools, and really upping the drop rates by a really tiny amount, like small percentages. Is that such a bad thing? How is that a bad thing? How are people this against it? I'm bamboozled. I don't know how. But anyways, that's kind of it. You know, we're going to leave it on that note. And if you enjoy this content, I don't imagine a lot of people are going to enjoy this. But if you enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments down below why you enjoyed it. If you would be okay with seeing more of this type of content on the channel, literally me just sitting in my chair talking about stuff that potentially no one cares about and just giving my opinions. If you want to see more of that, again, let me know. Just be vocal. And if you have, you know, some feedback that you want to weigh in on some side of this discussion with, leave that in the comments as well. Are you a casual player? Are you a hardcore player? Do you think that they should not up the drop rates because you don't want other players to have more fun? I'm kidding. Do you think that they should not up the drop rates because other players should have to experience the same grind that you experienced? Therefore, that still doesn't make any sense. If you think they shouldn't up the drop rates and you have a coherent argument for that, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you think that they should up the drop rates even more because it's a looter shooter, because of all the different stat rolls and how you have to combine them all to make the perfect piece of gear, let me know that down there too. And let's have a positive, constructive discussion as a product of this kind of irrelevant rant of a video. But that really is going to be it. Check out the links down below. Check out the Upper Echelon forums and all the different ways to support the community. And that's going to be it. Also, if you think that I should never do a video like this ever again, and you don't want to see me make a video like this on the channel, let me just, don't hurt my feelings, but like put that in the comments too, because I should probably, yeah, that feedback will help them. All right, take it easy, guys. Thank you for watching.